Hi everybody, welcome to Module 2 of Content Area Literacy. This module, titled Conceptualizing Literacy, is designed entirely around thinking through how we define literacy. So what are the underlying beliefs, what are the underlying values, assumptions, frameworks that we have for literacy, and most importantly, how do those underlying beliefs and frameworks drive the kinds of teaching and learning opportunities that happen in classrooms and schools or in out-of-school settings. So although literacy is a word all of us have probably heard and used for a very long time, I'm hoping that in and through the work you do this week, all of us will become much more critically aware and cognizant of our own working definitions of literacy, and most importantly, what kind of impact that underlying belief and value has on the kinds of teaching and learning opportunities we create in the classroom. I have designed this week to include a few different readings. I should flag that this week is particularly foundational for the rest of the course. So in order to engage fully in the material to come, I think it's really important for all of us to feel that we have a working understanding of literacy and that we've started to do some close looking at how literacy informs the kind of teaching and learning that happens. So some of the readings that we do, the first of which is Chapter 1 in Content Area Reading. The second and third are both articles that are attached through our Blackboard shell. The second article is written by two authors, Barton and Hamilton, and that piece is particularly important for positioning literacy as a social process. Barton and Hamilton make a case for all of the different ways in which it's clear to them that literacy is socially situated and context specific. And they go through several, I think, particularly concrete and easily accessible examples of the kinds of literacy practices that lead them to that conclusion. The next article, Elizabeth Burmoji is the author, and she is particularly well known for contributing to the scholarship on disciplinary literacies. And although that may sound almost identical to content area literacy, I do think it carries some very specific definitions and frameworks that sort of position it in a distinct category underneath the umbrella of disciplinary literacies. And although I will let you get into that and start to make sense of her work on your own, I do want to flag by disciplinary literacy, just broadly speaking, the emphasis is to say within any discipline, there are very specific ways of thinking, there are specific ways of knowing that are very, very particular to a given discipline. So let's take a historian and a scientist. Of course, both of them in their fields need to be able to provide evidence. But the types of evidence that are considered most important for a scientist are very different than the types of evidence that are important for a historian. So part of what Elizabeth Burmoji is getting at is thinking through how we as educators support students to be, really strong scientific thinkers and to have the literacy practices that support scientific thinking and scientific writing. And so instead of offering this idea that reading is reading or, a blanket idea of comprehending is comprehending, she's really pushing us to think through the ways that every content area comes with a set of unique literacy practices that are important not only to be aware of, but to make sure we're providing opportunities in the content areas for students to develop and enrich those types of literacy skills. So that's all I'll say on that piece right now. You'll see her name again later this course next week. The summer session is so fast. So you will see her name again with some other authors. She has worked with several different scholars over the last several years. But I find her work to be particularly helpful in thinking through literacy, disciplinary literacy, and content area literacy. In terms of your own writing, I'm asking you to complete a post on a board called Literacy Rich Classrooms. And on that post, what I would like you to do, and you do not need to explicitly reference the readings that you do, but you are certainly more than welcome to. My hope is that you will be inspired by the readings and that you will glean on the readings however you see fit to paint a very, very vivid image for us of a recent classroom that you have been in as a student or a teacher. And my hope is for you to start to really characterize the types of teaching and learning opportunities that unfolded in that space that could support a literacy-rich classroom. I want you to think through what kinds of texts were part of that space. How were students asked to engage with different kinds of texts? How did people talk about those texts or write about those texts? So you can see where I'm going in terms of thinking through what was some of the participation patterns that unfolded in that particular classroom. My hope here is that even though we have not stepped foot in that classroom, most likely, that we would feel like we had a really rich picture and image. So give us a small glimpse of what literacy looked like in that particular classroom. I do want to emphasize, and I write this on the description, please, sometimes our instinct is to talk about what we don't see or what we feel like was missing. And I'm sure we all have a long list of those things. I know I do for my own classrooms. But I really want us to prioritize and privilege what we do see. So push yourself to just really zoom in on the kinds of things that were happening. And I should say, too, this is not supposed to be evaluative or judgmental. This is really a descriptive piece to showcase and to try to maximize and leverage all of our own perspectives so that even though all of us have our own small sample, by reading across, we'll begin to really explode the kinds of literacy practices, literacy opportunities we're starting to see, particularly across content areas. So that will be your writing requirement this week, and I do ask you to respond to at least one of your peers' posts. You may certainly respond to more than one, but please make sure you respond to one and complete that contribution before midnight on Sunday. All right, please be in touch if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you online. Keep the videos coming. Take care.